Welcome to the Mount Pleasant podcast, featuring discussions and interviews about the people, places, and events that make Mount Pleasant such a special place.
This is the Mount Pleasant podcast. I'm your host, Brian Cleary, and all thanks to the great people of Mount Pleasant Magazine, I get the honor, the privilege of introducing you to Mount Pleasant, the people who make it such a special place to do business, to work, and even to live. We're introducing you to Mount Pleasant's best on the Mount Pleasant podcast. You can give the gift of life. We're going to tell you exactly how to do that on this edition of the Mount Pleasant podcast. I'm Brian Cleary. Thank you so much for joining me and my guest today, Meaghan Silsby, who is the Executive Director of the Lowcountry American Red Cross. Meaghan, let me just put that question out to you. How is it that I can give the gift of life?
Thank you for having me. Giving the gift of life through the Red Cross means offering something truly irreplaceable. So it's offering hope to people in need. So every 2 seconds, somebody in the United States needs blood. Whether it's a cancer patient, somebody undergoing a surgery, trauma, your donation can be the difference between life and death. So when you donate blood, you're not only giving a pint, you're also giving somebody something that they can never replace, which is time with their family, a second chance, a fighting chance to heal. So thanks to the Red Cross's national network, your donation can go where it's needed most, whether that's across the country or right here in our own community.
So what we'd like to do today is inspire people to give the gift of life. So let's start here. How do I find a place where I can make a donation of blood?
So the process is pretty simple and streamlined. You can start by going to redcrossblood.org and entering your zip code to find either a fixed site or a nearby mobile blood drive. And you can either pre-register or walk-ins are also always welcome. The whole process in itself takes about 30 to 45 minutes. So it's a very short amount of time to feel like you're really making an impact on the community. Once you arrive, one of our volunteers will greet you, and then one of our wonderful phlebotomists will guide you through a confidential health screening, and you'll be seated comfortably for your donation process, which in itself takes about 10 to 15 minutes. And then afterwards, which is one of the donor's most favorite parts about the process, is you'll be offered a snack, a drink. Our team is trained to make sure that you're feeling okay, and then you'll be sent on your way. So like I said, the entire visit takes about 30 to 45 minutes, and you'll leave knowing that you made a real difference.
And I will say, as a blood donor, the cantina, the snacks at the end just seem to top it all off. Now, the Red Cross, it seems to me, is very conscious of my time. They understand that people want to get in and out. Maybe it's in the middle of their workday. So they've also created something that I've used successfully. What can you tell folks about the Rapid Pass?
Yes. So the Rapid Pass lives on our blood donor app. So this is one of my favorite tools that the Red Cross offers. The blood donor app puts really the power to save lives in the palm of your hand. We're always on our phones, right? Why not make an app where people can go online and schedule their appointments? And one of the actual most meaningful features that I should mention on this app is the ability to follow your donation's journey. So after you give blood, the app will actually update you on where your donation is sent, everything from the processing center to the hospital where it's ultimately helping somebody in need. So it's a powerful reminder in a really tangible way to see the impact that you're making. And on that app, you can also have the ability to fill out your Rapid Pass. So you can go through the health screening, enter all of your information ahead of time so that when you get to the center, you're in and out as quickly as possible.
You've mentioned the fact that there are drives in the community and people hear about them. One of the advantages of here in the town of Mount Pleasant, and that's what the Mount Pleasant podcast is all about, is there off Houston Northcutt Blvd, there in the plaza with Harris Teeter, there's a Red Cross location. That's a place that I can go anytime to give blood?
Yes. So we have a fixed site on Houston Northcutt next to the Harris Teeter, like you mentioned, which is open Monday and Tuesday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Friday and Saturday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. So you can pre-register or walk in. If you find yourself with an extra 30 to 45 minutes, please walk in. We're always happy to take you. I should mention the impact that that fixed site has. So last year at that fixed site alone, we collected over 4,000 units of blood. So the Mount Pleasant community is really showing up and making an impact. So thank you.
In 1982, it was East Cooper Magazine. Now it's Mount Pleasant Magazine. Mount Pleasant Magazine is about the people, places, and events that make Mount Pleasant a great place to live, work, and raise a family. Your community, your magazine. Mount Pleasant Magazine.
You're listening to the Mount Pleasant podcast.
Today on the Mount Pleasant podcast, we're talking about giving the gift of life. We're talking about blood donations. And when you think of blood donations, of course, you think of the American Red Cross. Meaghan Silsby is the executive director of the Lowcountry American Red Cross, joining me here on the Mount Pleasant podcast. This is where the pages of Mount Pleasant magazine come alive with me, Brian Cleary. Meaghan, how is it that you could put out in a way to have people understand the need for blood and how much you need to collect?
Historically, summer months are more challenging than others for blood donations just because of the nature of the season. So people are busy, people are traveling, and their regular scheduled programming is interrupted. And of course, we started hurricane season in June, which runs through November. So storms also have the ability to impact our ability to host blood drives. And as you all know, blood supply can change in an instant. So locally, we supply 34 hospitals here, and just to give you an example of our impact on the local community, we've sent over 50,000 units of blood to MUSC last year alone. And after COVID, and I should mention, as you had referenced earlier, COVID, it changed so much of the way that we live our lives. More and more people are working from home. Now, post-COVID, people are traveling more. We've all had to adjust quite a bit, and we rely heavily on businesses and community organizations to host our mobile blood drives. So that is one way listeners can get involved and help as well. If they would like to raise their hand to host a blood drive, they absolutely can.
So someone has a business, they think, hey, I want to host a blood drive here. Is the first step going on the website? Do they contact someone? What's that step to take?
Hosting a blood drive is actually one of the most impactful ways that a local business or a community group can help support the Red Cross. So when you host a drive, you're actually not only creating an opportunity to help the community, but also an engagement opportunity for your team or whomever you're trying to impact. So the process is very collaborative. First, you'll work with a Red Cross representative. So you can go online and reach out to somebody locally here in Charleston. And once you made contact with one of our representatives, you'll pick a date. Drives typically last around 5 hours. So you'll need to identify a space big enough, ideally around 1,200 square feet. And then you can form a small committee, or you can have one point person that'll help you recruit donors, promote the drive, and ultimately just keep the energy positive. But the Red Cross provides everything else. So the planning support, recruitment tools, the equipment, snacks, trained staff. It runs the gamut. We are there every step of the way. We even have a very foolproof template that maps out 16 weeks out to post-event thank yous. So you're not doing it alone. We'll be working with you hand in hand to make sure that your drive is successful and meaningful, and it's a great way to engage your constituents.
When I hear people talking about the gift of life, I've heard the Red Cross say, with your gift of life, you can save up to 3 lives. Is that true?
Ultimately, yes. When you donate 1 unit of blood, you're not only saving 1 life, you're saving multiple lives. So yes, Brian, that's a very good point.
So let's try to encourage some folks to give the gift of life, give blood. I'm a blood donor myself. You can give, if I have the statistics right, every 56 days?
Yes, you can give every 56 days, no more than 6 times a year.
So you mentioned the fact that just last year alone, you gave 50,000 blood donations to MUSC. It's a huge number. How many people do you get on a daily basis? And I know there's a small group of people that, they've given gallons of blood. Are we able to expand upon that?
Yes, there's people that show up all the time. I was talking to one of my neighbors the other day. He was wearing a Red Cross shirt. And I was like, what's your story? Why are you representing the Red Cross? And he said one of his roommates in college actually got into a very serious car accident where he needed a number of blood transfusions. So now he goes to the Mount Pleasant Fix site every 56 days and donates. And so there's people like that in the community. It's just finding their story. But yes, you're right. I mean, there's a small percentage of people that actually do donate. So 3% of the American population donates. And we really would like to encourage people to get out there and register and donate. I mean, to our point earlier, it takes about 30 to 45 minutes out of your day. And our staff is incredibly compassionate, and we're trained to make sure that the experience is as comfortable as possible. Your first time donation is something that you should really value. And so our staff is there to make sure that it's as comfortable as an experience as possible.
And as a blood donor myself, I can attest to that. And one thing I'm always impressed by the volunteers and all the people working there. They're very aware of your time, and they do a great job of getting you in, getting you situated, and getting you out as fast as possible. And that's something I really appreciate about the American Red Cross, because our subject today here on the Mount Pleasant podcast with me, Brian Cleary, is about giving the gift of life, donating blood. With us, the executive director of the Lowcountry American Red Cross, Meaghan Silsby, is our guest. Now, Meaghan, in terms of blood supply, are we in a pretty good place now? Or, as you said, summer donations are down now. Overall, has the supply been kept up to where it needs to be?
Historically, yes. Summer months are critical periods of time for blood donation. So we service 34 hospitals here locally in South Carolina. In order to meet that need, we need to collect 220 units of blood every day. And it's really important for people that are able to donate to get out there and donate, especially now while you can. I mean, yes, we're in hurricane season and hopefully we don't have a storm impact our blood drives, but just now is a really good time to go out and donate. We are in a critical period. So as much as people can, we encourage you to get out there and visit the Fix site on Houston Northcutt and look up the closest blood drive near you. You can go on to redcrossblvd.org and enter your zip code to find either a Fix site or a blood drive near you.
Meaghan, can you talk to me the importance of blood type? Obviously, the American Red Cross is looking for all blood types. If I don't know my blood type, does that prevent me from giving? And is there a blood type that you need more or less of?
No, absolutely not. If you don't know your blood type, that does not prevent you from giving. That is one of the things that I hear a lot. And I'm like, no, you don't need to know your blood type. You'll find out after your donation appointment. Right now, type O is the critical one that we need. So type O is the universal donor. And if during a trauma incident, we don't know your blood type or the doctors don't know your blood type, they're going to give you type O negative because that is the universal receiver. So we know that people can receive that type. And that's the first type that's actually going to dwindle the most in critical times. So if you have type O, please make an appointment and come out and visit one of our sites. But we always need every single type of blood type. You do not need to know it. Every unit of blood makes a tremendous impact. So we're always looking for every type. But if you're type O, especially, come visit us.
So when we think about the American Red Cross, I first, because I'm a blood donor, I think of blood and blood donations. But the American Red Cross, wow. You guys do so much in the community. Can you expound on that a little bit so people understand what we have, the treasure that is the American Red Cross?
Biomedical services are really just one portion of our overall mission. We have 696 volunteers locally who help in our biomedical services, our disaster response, supporting our military families. I feel like when you relate the Red Cross, you think of large-scale disasters, and you're not wrong in thinking that. But a lot of people don't know that we actually respond to, on average, one home fire a day. So we respond to an average of 300 local disasters every year, just here in the Lowcountry. We're always out in the community, boots on the ground. If you're interested in learning more about ways that you can volunteer with the Red Cross, you can go online, and there's a little button at the top of the screen on our website that says volunteer, and you can look at the volunteer options here locally. But our disaster response, our biomedical services, we have a great partnership with our service to the armed forces. So we do resilience trainings with our service members. We have obviously a lot of training service, life-saving training service. So last year here in the Lowcountry, we trained over 4,000 people on CPR, AED use, you name it, water safety. So we're always here, boots on the ground, and we're only as strong as our community is. So we're here to support the local community.
And so if people think about, okay, the Red Cross is going down to Texas to help the flood victims, some people will get in their head, well, I've got to be a big guy who can carry sandbags and things like that. The Red Cross, I think, open to donors of all sexes, all ages, right?
Absolutely. Yes. I can guarantee you that we'll have a spot for you based on your interests. We have admin people. We have people that do back data entry. So if you're not public facing or you don't necessarily want to be the ones that are carrying the sandbags, we'll find a spot for you. And we make that very clear in the onboarding process with our volunteers. So once you go onto our website, redcross.org, and click on the volunteer, you can find a local representative and they'll contact you and walk you through some of the options that we have available and find out what your interests are. We really try and put the volunteer in a spot where they feel the most comfortable and build on their strengths. So we'll have somebody from my team reach out to you and talk you through some of your experience and what you're interested in, find a spot for you. We're always looking for volunteers.
And to go back to where we started, of course, talking about blood donations, if someone, and hopefully many people have been encouraged from our conversation to give the gift of life, the easiest way for them to find the blood drive nearest them is what?
To go online to redcrossblood.org, and you can type in your zip code, and a series of mobile blood drives and fixed sites will show up, and you can pre-register right online or walk in. If your schedule is a little up in the air, please feel free to always come by the Mount Pleasant fixed site on Houston Northcutt, either Monday and Tuesday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. or Friday and Saturday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Hopefully you'll do it. Give the gift of life. I am a blood donor. I'm telling you from personal experience, it's an easy and outstanding thing to do, and we hope that you will do it. Meaghan, thanks so much for taking your time to fill us in on all that the Red Cross does.
Thank you for having me.
It's where the pages of Mount Pleasant Magazine come alive. Hopefully you'll be giving the gift of life and giving blood and maybe even volunteering and helping out the American Red Cross. I'm Brian Cleary. Thanks for joining us today here on the Mount Pleasant Podcast.
Thanks for spending your time with the Mount Pleasant Podcast, your community, your podcast. Listen to past and future episodes at mountpleasantpodcast.com.